Not every day you're going to be in love with every single thing you do. And I think that's also part of a misconception and an unrealistic or a lofty misconception or a lofty goal with sobriety. And then alcohol shows up and alcohol's like, hey, you know what? You know what'll get you in the door everywhere? Me, your friend alcohol. And then you and alcohol are best friends and you think that your best friend's your best friend. Guess who's your best friend? Alcohol. All right, sobriety, so I'm gonna do this, so it better be worth my while. I'll give you know how many happy hour fish tacos I'm giving up and Chardonnays. We can have unrealistic expectations for change, especially when you are desperate for change. Oh, you can beatbox too, that's right. Hey, all right, welcome back to Getting Sober, again. My name is Jay, and today we are gonna talk about managing unrealistic sobriety expectations. But first, make sure that you are subscribed to this channel by hitting that little subscribe button down below and make sure to turn on all notifications so you will know exactly when these videos are coming out. And whenever I update in the community tab, little messages to you like the one that I messaged today about what time is good for you on the weekends so that we can do our live stream sessions where you'll be able to engage with me live on the spot with your requests and your typing, and then I'll just talk. It'll be kind of like this. I'm not really sure if I'm gonna record it down here or where I'm gonna record, but we'll see. Maybe you're watching this video a year in the future and I have it all figured out. Who knows? But also make sure that you leave a comment for either me or for somebody else in the community down below. There are plenty of people that are along their journey, and I can only provide so much assistance. And some of you have been really, really, really amazing down in the comment section below, offering your insight and your wisdom and your life experience that may be relevant to those particular individuals. So blessings to you, and make sure that you leave this video a thumbs up at some point. All right, so let's talk about today's topic, which is going to be managing unrealistic sobriety expectations. So what I mean by that, I think that a lot of people, when we start a new journey of any kind, when we start we're like, oh, I want to get in shape, I want to lose weight and get in shape, and then so you may know I go to the gym a lot. I go to the gym before I record these episodes, because one thing that I feel and I believe is that exercising and working out makes you feel amazing. It makes you feel a lot better. And I was in a pretty crummy mood this morning. And you might say like, well, you're sober now. Like, is it still possible? Can you still be in a crummy mood? And the answer is, yeah, you can still be in a crummy mood sometimes. Like, you can still be irritable, but I'm just far less irritable. I can still be cranky, but I'm just far less cranky. I'm more driven. I'm more focused on what I want to do. And I had like something just, I don't know. It's just like, it snowed here where I live. It's the late April and there's snow all over the place. So I was just kind of like bummed out about that, and I had some other stuff that I had to do or whatever. So I have to manage my own unrealistic expectations from time to time. And sometimes I have to sit back and think about what my goals are and remind myself, things are okay. This is okay. Things are going to be okay. We don't have to let this faraway parking spot ruin our whole day, okay? All right, just chill out. We don't have to let the fact that my OK Google feature on my phone never works, and I'm getting a new phone. So there's a silver lining to that. I went to the T-Mobile store today, and I finally just put that ball into motion. So it's just like always constantly moving forward and trying to progress forward, but not losing sight of certain facts, like it's a journey and it's gonna take time. So going back to what I was talking about exercising, every year, I've been exercising since I was like 18 years old. And every year, when do people go to the gym? Pop quiz. When do people go to the gym the most? If they haven't gone. They go back to the gym on January 1st, that's right. Except for then some people are hungover on January 1st, so they start on January 2nd or January 3rd. But their intentions are still good, so they'll kind of get around to it. And then it's like they missed a couple of days, so they're like, oh, what's the point? I don't know, I'm not gonna start, forget it. I already missed the first 2 days of the year, I'm already off to a bad start, right? So managing your expectations. Realistic or unrealistic, but also like know when your goals are just like a little too lofty, right? I always talk about making sure that like when you're in the preparation stage of the 3 Ps, this preparation, and then the next stage is you are practicing to become sober, and then the last stage is you are being patient with your journey of practicing and preparation to get sober. And sometimes you have to reset and you have to go back and you're like, okay, the way I prepared wasn't the best. I got all of the booze out of the house, but then I didn't tell anybody I was getting sober. And then all my buddies came over and they were watching the big game and then they were like, what is that? O'Doul's? And then that happens. You get a thumbs down or fart noise to the face. And you're like, I'm gonna, and then you do one of those and then you freak out and then who knows, whatever. What is your journey like? Comment below. What is your peer pressure like? Feel free to pause the video and comment below. But so like when you don't have the proper preparation and then that derails your practice and then you become impatient, you can't practice the last P, which is the patience part of it, then you end up falling back and then going back to like binge drinking or whatever it is. And negotiating what sobriety is gonna look like for you instead of what your true intention was in the beginning, which is to just be sober, just flat out sober, whether it be for a week or a month or whatever it is. You know, like if you, like true or false, is the thought of going 30 days sober scary? True, it's true. Like, I mean, like in the beginning, like when you're sitting there in that moment, you're like, oh no, you know what? Like, especially like if you're hungover, it's like, that's it. I'm never gonna drink again. And when you're in that stage, you're like, yeah, you say it and you believe it. And then as soon as you feel good, again, like by the next day, 24 hours later, again, you're on your way home, you're just like, oh, I can't believe I made it through this. And you're just like, oh, you're on your normal route home. And then you go past the street and then you go past the happy hour and you see your coworkers' cars in the parking lot. You're like, you know what? I'll just go and get some appetizers. They're half off too. And then you go there and then it's $3 a glass of wine. You're like, oh man, I just start. All right, I'll start tomorrow. Or I'll start next week, right? And then you know, like when we have these good intentions of like getting sober, it can be a little daunting. Like when we start the preparation phase and we start talking about, well, let's prepare to get sober. And what's the thing that I always talk about that's important for your preparation to get sober, which it's scheduling. It's scheduling your day. And it's focusing on where you're gonna be and projecting where you're gonna be. Like, what am I gonna do when I get off of work? And yeah, like you should be that, in my opinion, you should be that tedious. You should really start to visualize and project your future. Like I talked about before, like if you were gonna have a job interview tomorrow, you are thinking about what you're gonna wear. Are you gonna iron it? Is it dry clean? Like, is it dirty because it's dry clean only and I never clean anything that's dry clean only? What tie? Is there still mustard on my best tie? Last time I got a job, I had a celebratory corned beef sandwich and a little bit of the mustard. You're projecting, you're thinking about like what it's gonna be like. You're thinking about like, okay, what time the traffic, what's the weather gonna be like? What time am I gonna leave? What's the traffic gonna be like? What am I gonna be wearing? Am I gonna bring my portfolio? Am I gonna bring, you're thinking about every little detail. Because you're trying to manifest that future. You're trying to stay in line with, okay, like, well, what time am I going to go to bed? And then I'm probably gonna be a little bit nervous. So what time am I really going to go to bed? What time am I gonna wake up? Am I gonna allow myself to slap the snooze button and then go back to sleep? And then, and then slap the snooze button again and go back to sleep. And then you have those go back to sleep nightmares. If you know what I'm talking about, comment below. Every time I go back to sleep, I have go back to sleep nightmares. I think I commented that, yes, I talked about that in yesterday's community blog. I went for a very well-intentioned extra hour of sleep. And then it ended up being like, I transported back to like my last service industry job, which service industry can be very toxic if you're trying to get sober, because you're just surrounded by booze and alcohol, and like most of the people in the kitchen are on at least a single substance, if not 2 or 3. And also guilty, right? And I was dreaming that I was back at that place and everything was still a wreck, and it was the same reasons why I quit in the first place, and I had to quit all over again. I had to build up the courage to be like, I'm out of here. This is standing in the way of my goals. But I think in my subconscious was that I knew that I went back to sleep. And I knew that I was delaying my day's progress, which is like why also yesterday's episode didn't come out until like something like 7 o'clock at night or something like that, because you know, I lost an hour of progress. I lost an hour of my productivity through the day. But you know, so when we talk about scheduling, and we talk about like, you know, in the beginning you're gonna be super gung-ho and you may not do it right. You're probably not gonna do it right. Just repeat after me. I'm probably not gonna do it right. And then you're practicing. So practice makes perfect, right? So we're gonna keep practicing. We're like, okay, we didn't nail it that time. We still kept going past our happy hour spot. Let's change that. Don't go past happy hour spot on way home, exclamation point. Maybe go to gym instead, exclamation point, question mark, ... You know, whatever you wanna do. But when we start to overwhelm ourselves, we can get a little bit of anxiety, right? And we don't want to get anxiety, because if we get anxiety, we go to our basic tool that has been used for almost every situation. What is that basic tool that we use? Alcohol, right? And we go like, I got a little bit of anxiety, what do I do? Or you grab, or if you smoke, you're just like, oh, I need a cigarette, my heart's beating. It's like, your heart's supposed to beat. You're supposed to feel anxiety from time to time. You're supposed to be sad from time to time. You can't, like, not every day you're gonna be in love with every single thing you do. And I think that's also part of a misconception and an unrealistic or a lofty misconception or lofty goal with sobriety. We place too much pressure on the act of getting sober. We make sober so responsible for like everything that we've done wrong in the past, all the bridges that we burned, all the failed relationships that we had with our friends or family, our loved ones, whoever, all the jobs that we may have lost, all the bad decisions. Like, all right, well, I think a lot of people are, I'm gonna do an impression of, maybe this is your attitude, maybe it's not, comment below. But I feel like this is how we approach sobriety. It's like, all right, sobriety, so I'm gonna do this, so it better be worth my while. I'll give you know how many happy hour fish tacos I'm giving up and Chardonnays. I don't know what your journey is like, but like I said, comment below. I think like a lot of us are resistant to change. And again, unless for a lot of us, we end up getting a DUI, which thank God that's not happened to me, or you know, we get a terminal illness diagnosis, or we're gonna lose an organ or whatever. For a lot of us, we're kind of resistant and resilient to change because we were children and then we turned 18 and then we're trying to figure out how to become an adult. And then alcohol shows up and alcohol's like, hey, you know what, you know what'll get you in the door everywhere? Me, your friend alcohol. And then you and alcohol are best friends, and you think that your best friend's your best friend, but guess who's your best friend? Alcohol. You think that you're in a great relationship with somebody that you're attracted to, and they're smart and they're funny, but guess who you're really in a relationship? Alcohol. And then alcohol makes you depend on alcohol for all those nightclubs that you've gone to, all those movie theaters that you specifically go to because they have a bar in it, all those kid fun zones and amusement parks and all the places, all the things that you do, the game that you watch and the times that you socialize, you go to the beach and you have the social gatherings and you do this and that. And sometimes you drive when you drink. Alcohol is always there. It's always in your face. You've been doing everything with alcohol. So is it gonna be easy to just not be on alcohol anymore? No, because you did everything with alcohol. It's muscle memory. You're gonna have flashbacks. Like when you come home, you have the flashback of, because you've been projecting so long, like all I want is to open that refrigerator. Like it's like 3:59, you're just like, I have 1 hour and 1 minute left. And you're thinking about like, I have a 6-pack. Oh no, I don't have a 6-pack. I have to go to the gas station and I have to, like, trigger warning, sorry. But you have to break yourself out of there. You're like, no, I don't do that anymore. You gotta think about that. You can do like that part's optional. I like to do that part. But you're gonna project yourself into that future and you're gonna erase, let me edit. Let me do a little bit of life film editing in my head. Let me go, and you play that reel in your head and instead of going down that street, you're not going down that street. And you're thinking about like, okay, I'm gonna go to my buddy's house this weekend. What am I gonna drink as a substitute for alcohol? What am I gonna do in replace of alcohol? If you feel such a need to consume anything. Here's an interesting way of looking at it. Think about this point. If you were doing anything else, would you drink the same volume of liquid that you do beer or wine or anything? Stop and think about, like, every time you've gone to a bar or a social situation or a restaurant or the game, whatever social gathering, and maybe you have like a bougie book club and all you do is just drink and you sort of talk about the book. You do like the wine and paint thing, you're like, I kind of put some paint up there, but I'm there for the wine. Whatever it is, when do you ever drink so much liquid? Never, really, right? How many times, like if you had to replace all of those glasses of beer, all those bottles of beer and all those glasses of wine with water, you'd probably be like, why would I drink 4 or 5 waters in a night? And you're like, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous that we sit there. We're like in this consumer mode. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with my hands. So I better grab something and then it'll give me an excuse to like fill the silence. Because one of the skills that we never learned after being a child and then turning 21 is like how to manage just being quiet, just shutting up. sometimes just listening helps. I know you might think like, well, Jay, you're doing a lot of talking. I was like, well, because I'm making a video right now. But most of the day, I don't talk at all. And I was even saying this last night. It's like, I don't like to waste my words. I like to capture my ideas. And the only time I really even talk throughout the whole day, I love sitting in silence, because I don't like to distract myself from whatever messages God or the universe or whoever, my ancestors or bill collectors are trying to send me. I want to be in tune with what's happening around me so that I can be open to new ways of thinking and hopefully creating and manifesting a future that I want and I deserve, right? But one of the things that I learned not to do with regard to managing realistic expectations and dealing with unrealistic expectations is not overwhelming myself with like the whole scheduling process. When I sit there and think about like, okay, well, I would be at the bar from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock. So what am I gonna do for 3 hours? Read a book, yawn, I'm tired already. If you sit there and think about like, oh, I'm gonna read a book a day, it's like, then like it's go time and it's like 4:01 and you're home and you're just like, oh God, I gotta read this book. Chapter 1, first word, ugh. And then you're like, oh, okay, maybe I won't do that. I'll do spring clean. And then you're just like, all right, so there's only like one way that you've already sort of like failed yourself. You're like already turned your back on the first thing on your list. You're like, all right, fine, I'm not doing that. And then you're like, all right, spring cleaning, that sounds boring. Nope. How about meal prep? All right, maybe I'll do some meal prep. All right, but I gotta get a knife out and like everything's still in the sink. I don't know, I'll just start tomorrow. And then you get overwhelmed and then you just make a worse decision after worse decision after worse decision because you feel overwhelmed. But just like any journey, if it's just like a physical journey going from point A to point B on foot, what do you have to do? Take the first step. And then what do you have to do? Take the next step. And then what do you have to do? Take another step, another step, another step, another step. And that's what I talk about before. Like even if it's just like when I'm very big on my to-do list. As soon as I wake up, I don't want to just be like, all right, I'm just gonna willy-nilly, I don't know, I gotta clean the cat litter, I think, and I gotta make some coffee, or I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll just see what happens. Whatever happens, happens. I don't have the time to be directionless and aimless. I maybe felt that way when I was in my 20s, but I'm like almost twice that age now. I don't know how much life and longevity I have, and I want to make sure that I make every moment count. So what I do every day is I make my to-do list, and I realistically put tasks in my to-do list. Like, yeah, sure, I could slot up every half an hour with a new task. Like, okay, read 30 minutes of a book. Boom, that's gonna end right at 4:30. And then right after that, I'm gonna clean house, it says. All right, so I'm gonna clean the house from 4:30 to 5 o'clock. And then as soon as I'm done with that, then it's just like a little bit overwhelming to do all of those tasks, right? So if you're scheduling something like do your taxes, don't unreasonably slot your taxes for like 1 hour when you know it's probably like you haven't even started adding up any of your receipts. You know it's probably gonna be an all day thing. So if it's gonna be an all day thing and like in that already, like you're gonna stay up late the night before because you're just like, I don't want tomorrow to come. And maybe you're gonna binge watch, maybe if you're gonna binge watch all my episodes, do it. But whatever the case is, like don't unrealistically pack your schedule with stuff that's just gonna end up giving you anxiety, and then you end up don't finishing it, and then that ends up giving you depression. Don't put so much pressure on sobriety to fix your life, right? It's a slow journey, it's a slow process, but you will start to see changes. And again, if you didn't watch my 25 benefits of quitting alcohol for 90 days, first question, why haven't you watched that? I worked really hard on that episode, and it's definitely something for you to look forward to. In my opinion, 30 days of sobriety is great because you start to see the benefits in as soon as just a couple of weeks, right? You have to get through that first dreaded week. The first dreaded 3 days. The first 3 days is like the first boss in a video game. So you gotta beat this big boss, and you're like, your character's this big, but the boss is like this big, and it's like, you've never beat me. And you're like, yeah, I know. And then you need to get to like a week, and then you need to get to 2 weeks, and it's like, I don't know if I can do this. The bosses just keep getting bigger, but it actually gets easier. It's almost kind of like in reverse. It's kind of like the biggest boss is day 3, and then the 7-day boss is only like this big. And then 10-day boss is like basically the same size. And then 2-week boss is like only this big. And you're like, they're getting manageable. I believe that I could do this. And you start to believe in yourself because you've got all this positive momentum behind you, right? But when I talked about in that episode, I talked about like, we can have unrealistic expectations for change, especially when you are desperate for change. You're desperate for this decision of being sober to all of a sudden magically change all of your personal history with people. It's not overnight. You have, like, with all the red flags that you've left in your past, you have to do your due diligence to make people forget that with not just time and distance, but also like random acts of kindness, right? Maybe calling to check up on people. Stop being so selfish. Like, how selfish were you while you were drinking? A lot. Comment below, right? So making sure that you have realistic expectations and not setting yourself up for failure is very important. And when we talk about preparation, you'll know after practicing a few different times and failing a few different times, just like, oh, I put a little bit too much on my plate. I was a little ambitious with my gym goals. I thought, like, oh, I hired a personal trainer and I didn't realize how sore and tired I was gonna be. I feel worse. I feel worse after my first day with my personal trainer than a bad hangover. Like, that might be one of your opinions. You're just gonna be sore. You're gonna have lactic acid built up and you're just like, you had good intentions, but you didn't learn anything about working out and what it's like. You know, I'm not gonna have I don't have any videos about, like, you know, the first week of working out, but maybe if you find, definitely like plan ahead. Be familiar with, like, any and every situation that you're gonna get yourself into. Like I said, I'm gonna be getting the new Samsung Galaxy Ultra S21 tomorrow. So I'm gonna read up on all of the different features. And I'm like, I don't wanna set myself for, like, oh, it has this like super zoom. I can take pictures of the moon and stuff, and I can just have all these lofty expectations, right? Because expectations in the first place are a little tricky to manage. But when we put too much expectations on something that's a little too lofty, we end up falling short of our goals, and we have to start all over again, and we have to practice all over again, and then be patient with that whole learning experience. It's one big vehicle that all goes together, and you are the captain of that ship, and you are the captain of that experience. So with that, I wish you good luck on your journey. Make sure that you are commenting below, even if it is to let me know or let the community know that you're on day 2, or you're on day 5, or you're on day 21. And some of you are at day 21, congratulations to you. Some of you just hit your 30-day mark, congratulations to you. And I always tell people, just comment below. Like, what if that gives you hope and motivation and inspiration and transparency and accountability, comment. We have a ton of great people down below from all walks of life that are gonna be there to congratulate you, hopefully with open arms. So again, good luck on your journey, and I will see you in
How do you do that?
the next video.